The challenge was to never compromise the standards, because that's what made people literally obsessed with us.
Laurent Vernhes. He spent 20 years shaping tablet hotels into a tech and luxury travel icon, culminating in its acquisition by the discerning Michelin Group 4 years ago. Now Laurent is channeling his expertise and refined taste into launching a wine company, committed to delivering the world's finest wines at fair prices. In this episode, we explore the art of building luxury brands, quality obsession, and treating business as an artistic endeavor. A deep and independent thinker, Laurent shares his life lessons with us in a beautifully vulnerable way.
It's not like I have 5 cycles left in my life. So how do I maximize the time I have left? Winemaking is an art form. I do blind tastings, and guess who wins? Not the fancy bottle. Real art is not people looking at what the market is looking for and giving the market what they want. It's people just looking inside deeper and deeper and kind of coming up with something that's in their essence. When you get to that level, you realize we're all connected. So that's how people, that's how it touches other people.
Hi, Laurent. So good to see you.
So good to see you. How are you?
Very well. I'm very well. Laurent, we've been friends for a dozen years, believe it or not. And I've always admired how you can think out of the box and how deeply you process your life experiences. So I'm thrilled to have you here today because I want you to talk about a very important life-changing experience you had after you sold your fantastic business called Tablet Hotel. So if you don't mind, I'd like to kick off with asking you to tell me more about that journey, the 18 years of building Tablet Hotels and then selling it 6 years in Michelin Group.
Yeah. Well, you want me to summarize the last 24 years of my life?
Exactly.
All right.
How about what motivated you to start Tablet Hotels?
That's a good way. That's a good place to start. I think what motivated me was the two things. One is when I was in the corporate world, I felt I had to fight with a whole bunch of people for my ideas and intuition to be tested in the real world. And I had to convince all these people. And that was very frustrating to me because some of the people were brilliant, and not many, but some. And the others were like, people, why do I have to convince these people? So that was very frustrating to me. Also, that process of having of creating consensus with other people, which is one way to look at it in the corporate world. I felt because I didn't motivate me, so I felt, I was not going to do super well in the corporate world because I was not motivated by that approach, and therefore I would probably not reach my potential in that environment. So I thought, I was doing quite well, but I had got to the point where I was going to be running some businesses, and I was running one already, but bigger businesses, and it was going to get more and more people to convince, and that's that whole concept. I thought, why don't I test whether if I'm free from having to do this, which is an illusion, but it was an illusion. But what would happen if I was free? So that was the main driver, that freedom. That freedom to test your own ideas, test yourself with the outside world, because not within your team, which was totally an illusion, because in the end you still have to do that anyway. And as a leader, it's very important.
Even more so, but you try to convince some people of something you deeply believe in, something that comes from your heart and soul. So it's a different kind of convincing. I'm absolutely with you on that one.
So then I launched into that, and I picked anything I could think of. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's I had no particular inspiration as to what it had to be. And then I realized what I know the most about is travel, because my obsession until then had been to travel and see the world. And so I thought, how can I apply this? And then then I started this business, which is still a hotel curation business, and what was a bit like what Michelin had been doing for a century on restaurants, except on hotels and globally.
Mm-hmm.
And the business model, what was innovative? There were two things that were innovative about this. So one was the business model was commerce. It was building an online travel agency within the curation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put yourself back 23 years ago, if you had an editorial mission,
Mm-hmm.
you are selling advertising. If you were doing commerce, it was discount, discount, discount. So kind of connecting commerce and editorial mission was actually quite innovative. I don't think there were many companies doing that. In fact, I can think of one doing that at the same time. So that was the innovation. Now everybody understands that the best way to sell is the storytelling. So the editorial is everywhere now, and mostly fake editorial, but people understand that's the way. And at the time, it wasn't so obvious. So, and the other aspect was that if you're selling something that's not exactly inexpensive, you need to connect emotionally with your clients. People buy, so that emotion, was the communicating that emotion. It was very important, and that's something we worked very hard on. So I had a pretty unusual journey for tech companies, because the internet bubble burst like something like 2 months after I started the company. Mm-hmm. So you don't choose when you do things, but this time was my time. I couldn't define the perfect time. There is no perfect time. But what it meant was that there was no, after the initial angel money, there was no institutional investor for like about 3 years that would touch anything that had the word internet and consumer in its description. So yeah. I had to make it work without any outside money. And then, of course, I asked the angel investors. Some of them were relatively very high-profile people. One of them is super high-profile, kind of a legendary. In fact, I'll quote him because he deserves that credit. Chris Blackwell, who discovered Bob Marley, and launched Island Records and so on, and became a friend much later, like 10 years later. But then he was just an investor, and then I contacted him and said, I'm not very good at asking for money, but I have no choice. I need money, otherwise I'm closing this thing. And I had already fired everyone in a kind of collective suicide way. I told people this anyway. So Chris Blackwell, I told Chris, I need money. I have to ask. Everybody else has told me, they lost so much money in the bubble, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you that, And he's like. This is when we're going to find out whether you're a true entrepreneur or not. And that's that's all he said. And that was, what
you've proved yourself now.
Then I did, and and I credit him for bringing my mind back to this is the there is no escaping your path, your journey. You're just like this is what you wanted to do. Then we're gonna find out whether this is what you are meant to do or not, or whether you have what it takes. So anyway. So I did find a way to make it work and generate money, cash, and cash is obviously like air. If you don't have any, you're dead. And in a way that business model became. I discovered also search engine marketing at the same time as Google. Actually, we were. I was using Overture. Overture sold to Yahoo. Yahoo killed Overture because Yahoo killed everything they bought, basically. But Google saw that model and launched AdWords, and the rest is history. But that's at the time. For a while, I was the biggest client of AdWords.
Oh, wow.
They had 6 account managers. Can you believe that? And then at a kind of function, I miraculously won a mountain bike I never win anything at raffles, but of course, I was a good client.
So, Laurent, when I first met you, I've never told you that before, but when I first met you, you were 12 years into the business.
Yeah.
And I was baffled by the way you ran the business, because I was coming from a very different side of the tech world where everyone is obsessed with growth. And suddenly I meet this man who's built in a business for years, who basically would not allow a hotel to join his network unless he actually went there and physically experienced it.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to you about it, and I said, how do you plan to scale this business if you have this restriction, which is self-imposed? You were completely unfazed, completely unimpressed by my concerns. I remember it very well. And whatever. And it was actually much later, like years later, that I've heard your countryman, Bernard Arnaud, speak about desirability. This is when I understood you better. Because what he was saying, of course, today he is the richest man on the planet. He founded and he runs the largest luxury brand in the world, LVMH. And he has proven that his business thinking really works. And it's very resilient through all the crises we had in those several decades that he's been around. So what I found fascinating about his logic is he said, I don't care about growth. I don't even care about profits. I care about one thing and one thing only, and that's desirability. And I remember thinking, oh, I think I understand why Laurent is doing what he's doing. It must be about desirability.
Yeah, no, that's one way to frame it. And I agree. I think, it's the most powerful sales tool, there is nothing stronger that I can think of. And it comes from really focusing on the product. He has a way to really attract or acquire the best talent out there. And what he's done with Tiffany in New York, the store, it's unbelievable. He invested a massive amount of money, clearly not thinking purely in terms of numbers, but kind of betting that getting to that level of desirability and beauty will generate success. In the case of hotels, to me the challenge was to never compromise the standards, because that's what made people literally obsessed with us. That our clients all loved us. That's kind of. And if I started,
I was a very loyal client. I loved.
Thank you.
I still do.
So you cannot compromise the desirability, but the growth comes from the getting a bigger market share of these places because it's possible, because you're creating a connection, some kind of horizontal connection between these places that didn't exist. So you become the club of people who like these places where there was no kind of no connection, even no marketing connection. There are some marketing companies that specialize, like leading hotels of the world, that specialize in trying to create these connections. But because their model is driven exactly by getting more hotels, the standards are not there. There are some shitty leading hotels, some great shitty hotels, leading hotels. So you can't really trust them. So they don't get to that objective that they're setting for themselves, which is to create this connection, because there is no substance to it in that case.
So for me, this obsessive belief in this particular culture where you're building trust, this is so you. For me, this is so much Laurent incorporated.
Well, I understand it too.
So I would be very, very curious to hear how you continued after you sold Tablet Hotels. Did you keep that essence for your next business, which is, of course, the wine business that I really want you to tell me more about?
I'll tell you about it in a second, but I'll just say one more thing about what you were talking about in terms of growth. Of course, I wanted to grow, because you know there are more people out there who could, who are, if they knew about you, would love you. So why not increase the love? Connect more people. Because as long as there is this kind of substance behind the connection. So but I think unlike you, I think you had a VC, right, or more than one, and or but most entrepreneurs have VCs.
No,
VCs,
I
no,
didn't.
you
But I
didn't. Okay,
didn't.
so
Yeah, yeah.
so in your case, a
We
different
always
scenario.
did. That's why I think you think
Okay,
that way. Yeah, we walked away. Yeah.
so in the case of VC-driven companies are pushed by the VCs to grow at any cost because most of these companies fail and they need that shining success to make up for all the failed businesses that they've invested in. I'm pretty sure a meaningful portion of these businesses would not have failed without that kind of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so they're pushing every business to grow at any cost, and often kind of removing what could define the business, which is some real substance, something that clients would connect with, just for the sake of growth. So I think I think I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to say I'm not some kind of monk who didn't care about growth at all. But at the same time, there were phases when I was obsessed with the numbers, like any other kind of business manager. These phases were not the phases of highest growth. And there were phases when I was like completely in some kind of zone with the creative process. We're launching all these new features and completely in love with the features, obsessing about the features. These phases were the phases of highest growth. So you may think the causality is that maybe I had success before, so I could afford to be just creative and the success came from the number crunching before. You could try to interpret it one way or the other, but I am completely convinced that the correlation was when I could channel creativity, substance, dig in myself, in the people around me, the team, and we came up with exciting stuff. That's what created the most growth. Of course, you have to be disciplined about the money, but that's actually in my DNA. So that's a gift I got from my parents, is the financial discipline.
We'll get to your parents later.
Yeah. Okay.
That essence, if your philosophy of how you do business survived the exit and you took it to your next venture. Or you rethought it?
So the path to the next venture, we're both part of. We both have entrepreneur friends, and often people jump into another one. I didn't do that. I tried. I thought this is an amazing opportunity to stop and think about what I want. It's not like I have like 5 cycles left in my life, so. How do I maximize the time I have left, and how do I, in which way do I want to maximize it? What's meaningful to me? So I stopped. Do I want? So maybe doing another venture was one of the possibilities. Being on boards, education, investing, whatever. Or just being a kind of hedonistic, explorer of what's fun to do. So all these possibilities and more are there. So I wanted to, why jump? Why not deep into these things a little bit and not go full on into something, but test and see if anything seems to resonate. So it took about a couple of years before I actually decided that, well, after all, what I want to go back to being an entrepreneur, and because in fact this is the way I am an entrepreneur, my version of it, and I'm not the only one who's like this, but resonated with the process of looking in itself. That I do believe, I think it's the difference between art and commerce, and not that they are incompatible, but real art is not people looking at what the market is looking for and giving the market what they want. It's people just looking inside and deeper and kind of coming up with something that's in their essence, and basically And basically, when you get to that level, you realize we're all connected. So that's how people, that's how it touches other people, because you realize the connection as human beings. And that's what artists can do. That's why we need artists, because they help us understand that we're all connected, basically. That's what the human condition is something we share, the good stuff, the bad stuff, even the really dark secrets and stuff. We all have that in common, except it's very difficult to actualize that connection.
Yeah. For me, it's more a spiritual meta than art meta. It's very interesting for me to see how you came to the same conclusion, but through art, because I found that this human connection is actually how we grow spiritually. That's where we go. We kind of become less self-focused, less selfish, and appreciate more that we're part of a whole.
But the path to it is by looking deep inside yourself. That's when you find that connection. And I think that's what true artists do. Mm-hmm. But a majority of people who call themselves artists are just business people, with a skill that they see, okay, this is what the market wants, and they give the market what they want. I don't call that art. So, in a way, I think art is a kind of a purely spiritual endeavor. That's where you and I, I think the so-called artists would just okay, people seem to like this, and they should just give them more of this. They are just doing commerce. But does it mean that commerce is bad? No, so I don't think so. I think commerce is actually one way for artists to broadcast, that connection, to give more people a chance to feel that connection. Mm-hmm. So I think, so commerce, or business, can be used to further that connection between people. And that's the way I want to do business.
That's how you see yourself. Is it how you see sort of your identity as well, as a person who can merge being an artist and being an entrepreneur in one?
My version of art is that I through a process of individuation, to use the kind of the Carl Jung concept, I find myself being a catalyst to make sure artists have as much influence on the rest of us as they can. I mean, to help artists kind of broadcast what they're discovering inside themselves to a wider audience, so that wider audience feels that connection with the rest of humanity.
So going back to your wine business, how does art and wine and commerce merge into one?
So I think winemaking is an art form. Mm-hmm. So that starts with that. So, I mean, I think of the best winemakers as artists. They're not, a majority of the wine industry is just like any other industry. Basically, it's difficult to make money in wine and to scale a wine because of the process of just making wine. But what they do, let's take America as an example. What they do is, in America, people love, the single biggest segment is people who love big Cabernet Sauvignons and oaky Chardonnays. So these are produced in a majority of the wine in America is that, just because this is the mainstream taste. And that's what companies do. In fact, the product is so industrial. There are like something like over 30 possible additives that these companies use to add to the liquid you're drinking to make sure it's kind of close enough to what they think is your taste. Mm-hmm. That's the reality of the wine industry. You're drinking a chemically driven product. For most of the wines are like that. Mm-hmm. Are they the best wines? Of course not. In fact, the best wines are, why do I say of course not? Because none of these wines will give you the kind of high that a good wine will give you. So the best wines are usually made by artisans. What do they do? It's like, they're basically, they have a connection with the nature that's producing these grapes. They're like they treat their, literally. I mean, I've seen that over and over again. They treat their vines with like with love. Basically, that's the only way I can describe it. And so they are artisans. They cannot do that on a large scale. And then they ferment that juice and they put their heart and soul into this, like literally. And you know what? They do it for themselves. They don't do it for other people. And to me, that's kind of that's a sign that you're on the path to art. They are doing it purely for themselves. And of course, they're not all super talented. They don't always succeed. But the ones who succeed, they create stuff that when you drink that stuff, you know what I'm talking about. It's good wine. There is something about it, right? That
I guess it's the same with art, right?
Yes, they are artists.
That is just fantastic, and most of us would react to it and know that.
It's the same. It's exactly the same. I mean, the alcohol portion of it, where whether you get drunk or, I mean, in fact, I wish there was no alcohol in wine because I could drink more of it.
Why not work on that then?
No, I looked into that. I looked into that for that reason but no, it's the process is to remove the alcohol from the wine, which is the way it's done at the moment. It's like a trepanation. It's removing it's like killing the soul of the thing. So at the moment, it's not working. But so I think these people are artists, and so what we do is that we are basically scouting people like that endlessly. There's over 1 million wine labels in the world, which is why everybody is lost. It's like, how do you know whether a wine is going to be good or bad? On the label. A friend of mine has developed this kind of intuition for labels. Yeah, not so reliable. So how do nobody knows, and people are not everyone is willing to try and fail repeatedly. In fact, most people are not willing to have this approach. And why do it on wine? So people either find some wine they like and just keep drinking the same wine over and over again, or people with some disposable cash will just buy the most expensive wine because that's kind of an insurance policy. And also it enables them to show off, oh, look, I have this really fancy bottle of wine. But, and that gives them kind of a threshold of quality, which is not the best wines. It's rarely the best wines. I've had a lot of them thrown at me to make a point, and I do blind tastings, and guess who wins? Not the fancy bottle. Yeah. It's like, we can do it, anytime. And it's like a fun game to play with people who show off their wine cellars. So I want to help people, discover, fall in love with good art, with good wine, in a way and remove a big chunk of the risk of failing when you try something new. So we're scouting all these wines, and then we have this process of blind tasting at the end. So the scouting takes forever. It's like never ongoing all the time. And then we meet every 2 months now in my place in Italy, and we have like something like wines from 50 producers, and I invite other producers. Now these days we are on the 4th collection, so I invite the winemakers who were selected before, and a few other people, and then together we blind taste everything, and we come up with 6 wines, and we create a collection. And then this collection is sent to the members as a way for them to discover pearls of happiness.
So Laurent, you actually answered my question, which was whether you kept that obsession with customer trust and desirability and quality from Tablet Hotel.
Yes.
MBA wine. And I guess the answer is yes, because you're still curating and you're tasting every single wine that you're giving to your customers.
Yeah, I could have just said yes. I could have just said yes to your question.
But Laurent, before you started MBA wine, You started your own wine, right? Maison Bern.
No, I was not growing wine. I have too much respect for the people who do it well to pretend I can do the same thing. It's like no, I was not growing it. I actually white labeled. It was one of these phases at Tablet where I was crunching numbers all day long, and I needed some creative, some fun in my professional life. So I've had an obsession with champagne for a long time, and by chance I found a champagne at a friend of mine's place that was like incredible. It's like I couldn't stop. I can drink champagne a bit like water, but this one was like, this is like, where is the source of this stuff? And they, it told me, and there's somebody who, a lot of the small producers in Champagne never sell in retail. They just sell directly to families. Some of the best champagne never reaches retail, basically. That was one of those. And I said, do you mind if I call these people? So I called these people, and then I said, I'd like to do an experiment so I understand this whole wine thing better. And can I buy some of your champagne, put my own label and see? And I want to understand how I can market wine in America, in the world. I want to understand how this works.
Yeah, it was more of an experiment. Yeah,
that was an experiment, and it helped me understand the ridiculous complexity of wine distribution in the US. It's just like Soviet Union 10.5. It's crazy, the regulations around alcohol in the US. And so it helped me understand that. So which allowed me to start this business. There is a reason why the way I'm doing the business doesn't exist. It's because it requires a lot of creativity from how to go around regulations, and the structure is unnecessary, is strangely complex just because of regulations. Just to be able to do what I want to do, which is fairly simple, but nobody is able to do it because of the regulations. So that champagne was the beginning of understanding that, and also a way to test whether my personal taste resonated, whether there was some kind of truth, and whether in wine and champagne, and whether I was personally close enough to the truth of what's something that's good versus not. And it turns out I was not not too far, because it was an instant success through blind tasting, and to this day people are calling me saying, do you have any more of this champagne?
You stopped doing it.
I did, and then now I'm bringing back a new one, which I will also use as a white label approach. The wine business is not white label; it's collaborations with the winemaker. So we pick a cuvée, and then we basically take over a whole cuvée, and then we co-brand. And the idea is to also express our admiration for these winemakers. So we're not trying to hide who they are. Quite the contrary, we are telling these people are like amazing. But for the champagne, I found another one which I like even more. It's taken 2 years, but that one I use only for to reward people in the context of the wine business. So if you're a member who's helped us find some winemakers we didn't know, here's some champagne. It's like it's like a gift, this gift that people don't expect. That's special, and they think, it's some cheap thing, and then they drink it. It's like, oh no, it's not some cheap thing. It's really good stuff. It's like, and that then that's when you have that loyalty, because you've done something that came from the heart.
So you mentioned that your parents taught you financial discipline. How did your thinking about money change from before the exit,
after your exit?
I did a couple of things that things that I had told myself when I was a kid. If I ever have money, I'll do this. So I did one or two of these things. But basically, I think what surprised me is that I guess, sometimes you talk to people, it's like, what would you do if you had money? What would you do with that money? And then you have all these ideas of things you could buy and do. And to my surprise, once you have the money,
You don't want any of that.
that desire is gone kind of
Exactly.
almost instantly. Because you can, in fact, the point was that you could. And for most of these things, this was not the ownership or the, no, I mean, so yeah, that was an interesting, I mean,
But that's what happened to you. You lost desire in all these material things once you could afford them.
in most of them. I mean, I live well, I mean, I live very well. But all these cliche things that a lot of people do with money, how, I mean, why?
So, what is money for you today? What's the meaning of wealth for you?
Well, I think one of when I talked about money before, I talked about it as fuck you money, like, the ability to not think about money,
So, it's freedom
freedom. Yeah,
from having to earn money.
yeah. So, so when I saw that business, when I was finally out after the integration phase, which lasted a couple of years, I mean, so I had told myself, I'm going to stop and just find time to think. The issue was that I couldn't. I was feeling guilty every day. It took a long time to stop feeling guilty about not solving some problem every day. Not. I felt like, what have I done? I'm wasting my days, like, because you're so used to kind of fixing something and dealing with some situation, and it's like that was the main issue. Not the money was like no, not.
So you felt restless and guilty that you were not actually
Yes.
doing something. Was it the business itself, or you felt that you were not contributing to the world what you had, your art, your talents, your skills?
No, all of the above. I mean, I'm like, what? I'm just wasting. I mean, I've got this. I'm finding myself in this life. I should. From just going back to my French roots, like the existential. The French existentialism. It's like whether you believe in God or not. There is only one answer. It is to engage. So I was not engaging. I felt I was not engaging. I was wasting this situation I find myself in by not engaging enough.
So besides that white label project for wine,
What else did you try to do before you found your new art/business in MBA Wine?
I became an angel investor.
How did that go?
Well, these companies are still alive, so we'll see whether there is any return.
good.
It's like a long-term project. That was interesting. I mean, the way some people do it professionally, and I respect that. I was doing it in the context actually of the HBS group of angel investors, which it was great to have different angles on what matters to you, your criteria for investing, and clearly we all had different criteria, and that kind of freed me to think of only the criteria I felt was I had something to contribute more intuitively, because the other guys were so analytical that I didn't need to use my analytical skills.
Did it satisfy your desire to engage with life again?
No, because I want to be the person who's doing something. In fact, it's kind of brought back this kind of idea that why seeing the difference. I connected with these people. If I didn't connect with the CEOs, I wouldn't invest. It's kind of a necessary condition for me to invest. But obviously we're different people, and but it kind of reminded me of why I had become an entrepreneur, um, and it also reminded me that I learned many skills that I didn't really want to learn, like managing people. Once you scale and you have to formalize the culture and all these things. I used to say, I didn't start a business to manage a bunch of people, a ton of people. That was not my motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself in that situation, and I almost reluctantly, but I know, but it forced me to do it better, to become, quite decent at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful. I understood. I mean, there is a lot of depth about this, about doing this, which I didn't expect to find, and I was not looking. So it reminded me that that these skills, why would I waste all these things I've learned? I mean, I should find a way to apply them, and that not an angel investor. I mean, I can share my experience. It's like Gestalt. I don't tell them you should do this, do that, but share relevant experiences in my experience in my life that they may relate to. I tell them what my decision was, and what the outcome was. Not always good, but sharing that has been my way of contributing to their own adventure.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminded me that that's also a great way to grow. It's not just a financial pursuit or some kind of show off. I grow faster than you. I make more money than. No, it's you can. I think entrepreneurship is a way to grow spiritually as well. And I hadn't realized that I had also grown in that way as an entrepreneur, because the level of pain was quite high. But you learn a lot through pain.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
So it helped you. Your angel investing
helped you appreciate what you've actually learned and what you have and all the skills you have. And that made you feel even more eager to engage with life, as you put it, and start another business.
Yes, it made me realize that's a good way to engage with life and grow.
Yeah, because building a business definitely makes you grow much faster than you ever want to.
Yes.
You get addicted to the speed, right? It's very hard to slow down.
Yeah, I mean, patience. No, in fact, patience is. I mean, I've been chronically impatient. In fact, I had a quick side story. I was having dinner with Chris Blackwell, whom I mentioned before, and one day, and I was telling him, I thought with age, I would become more patient. He's like laughing his head off. He's like, it's like the biggest contradiction you could ever think. Like, of course, the older you are, the less time you have. So why would you be more patient? But I'm kind of sticking with it, because I think you need to accept. I think what I've learned in those 2 years. Maybe that was one of your questions. I've learned through, in fact, working on myself. In one of the ways I've done that was, having some guided psychedelic trips and very profound experiences, for which I'm very grateful. And it's not something you do like every month. It's intense. So you do that once in a while. And I'm not sure. I think I'm getting closer to doing another one. But you learn to trust your intuition, and not think of it as some kind of lazy thing to do, like, oh, I'm following my heart, which to some extent sounds a bit weak, but no, that's real, and then you need to kind of really not just, you need to find it and learn to follow it in a kind of measured way and patient way. So patient. There is something to patience which I'm learning through this business. Whenever I'm like going, repeating some of the negative patterns, I'm like, okay, so this, I know what this is. This is an emotion, I can distance myself from the emotion. Not that I want to distance myself from my emotions all the time. We are human beings, and part of the beauty of being a human being is living these emotions. But you have a better understanding of your relationship with your emotions, and so that's helped me grow. I think we'll see, because at the end of the day, whether the business is a good way for me to engage in life would be demonstrated by its how much it resonates with people or not. These are. Am I creating something where there is a lot of desirability? I can't say that word properly. And strangely, it's a French guy who came up with that concept for you. And here I am, I can't pronounce it. But but yes, if I create something that has a high level of that, that will mean that I have engaged in a positive way.
So for you, it's a combination of your artistic creative expression and being sure that other people need what you are
creating through that expression.
Yes, I think we're all a conduit. I think what we are is stuff comes in and then comes out of us, whether it's physical, conceptual, ideas, energy, and everything. So we're a conduit. So am I a conduit, a good conduit? Am I kind of bringing something? What I hope is coming out of me as a conduit is kind of more connections between people, and so yeah, that's how it's going to be measured.
So talking about fulfillment, on a rate from 0 to 10, how would you rate how fulfilled your life is right now?
It varies with every second of the day, Sometimes you feel, sometimes, but I'm not telling myself stories. So I think I am in touch with where I am. Fulfillment, what form does it take? Is it an emotion? I don't know. I don't want to be the Buddha. I think meditation is an amazing tool to feel this connection, to realize that all these thoughts, these emotions it's just like one part of you, and mostly the part that helps you survive. But do I want to be the Buddha? No, because I like being a human being. With all its flaws, so I don't know what form fulfillment takes. What matters, we were talking about family before you started the countdown, the giving my kids, all the love I can give them, is definitely high on the measure of which doesn't mean spoiling them. No, I'm not talking about showing my love by making their life so easy. That's not the point. But that's important. And I think my kids are. I like the way they're developing as human beings, and that gives me a lot of joy.
Fantastic. So you get your fulfillment from that?
Not just that, like just from all the sources that we find fulfillment as human beings, But I think it's like every day is different. You want to have a little adventure. I want adventure, that's for sure. I don't want to. God, if I felt fulfilled, what would it look like? I would be ready to die.
Oh, well, unless you define fulfillment as this kind of life that you want, including adventure, right? My question was basically to try to understand what it is for you.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I know when you say fulfillment, I guess I heard happiness or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, happiness. What is happiness?
Yeah, fulfillment is more of a
The satisfaction. Like I was listening to you and I thought, okay, you seem to be quite satisfied, or at least in the process that is satisfying in terms of expressing your creativity and growing, right? You're back on track, growing really fast.
I think I was growing, I think fast, I mean, you said before, entrepreneur, you grow fast as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, it's like, I think there is a pattern in what you're saying. Like, when you were an entrepreneur, it was all about growth and speed. I think, speed to death. I mean, speed to what, I mean, if you don't have I think to me, it's it's like the difference between having an intent and having a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think my approach is having an intent. So I can check my intent every day. Having a goal, you only know whether you've reached it, like when you get to that timeline that you set for yourself.
Yeah.
In between, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? I think to me, what's more important is to have an intent. So yes, I am, from that point of view, I am checking on what is my intent in life all day long, every day. So that's maybe what you meant by fulfillment.
Yeah, because I totally agree
With you, because the intent defines the direction you're going to.
Yeah.
It's a direction, and the goal is more tactical. It's specific.
The goal is, it can be a motivation for that intent, and if it's used that way, yes. But whose goal has meant in history has meant much for the rest of the universe or mankind? No one, apparently. I mean, Buddha maybe. It's just like. I mean,
Yeah, I guess that's a high standard, isn't it?
yeah, it's high standard because I think to me, when you're talking about, I think people tend to overestimate their place in the world, in humanity, in history, and then, so then they talk about growth, and I had I'm so rich, it's like there is no end. I mean, this is so
What are your intents or intent at the moment? What's your direction?
So I've set a couple of projects which I think where I think I can explore my intent and develop my intent, and I'm open to whatever these two experiences bring me, in terms of whatever it is.
So you're looking for your intent.
No, the intent is to create, to develop things that resonate with who you think you are. This way, I think you can grow to be. I do tend to adhere to the Carl Jung format or template for what it is to be a human being, and so this way I'll be. I'll be on a better path to my individuation. I won't get sidetracked in kind of orthogonal issues, which you kind of lose especially relationships. It's easy to kind of get sidetracked, and then you become obsessed, and then you kind of lose the path. So I just want to grow as a human being and find out. Make sure I play my part in the universe. That's all. And as tiny, and I as it is, it's like obviously incredibly nanoscopic. Yeah. But I want to, and my place is to resonate with the rest of creation, basically.
And
because it's like you do it through art. That's in a way your tool for connecting to the universe and resonating with it.
Because that's what art is about. I don't think of myself as an artist, but I think we are all connected. You and I, Anastasia, especially.
We are. That's for sure. And I'm happy about that.
But and then these moments when you feel fulfilled, right? The word I think it's when you feel that connection with what's around you. So I want to feel that. I want to feel that deeply and more than just a fleeting second. And then I think you do that by engaging in life in a way that where you're closer to what you're meant to be. And as tiny as it might be, and some people have ideas of that they are so they play a huge part. But
well, yeah, we don't. But that's all we can control, right? That part is still important.
Yeah, I mean you have to. Yeah,
we are here for a reason.
We're here for a reason, and that reason is to and it's understanding that reason is part of the is part of the way you fulfill why you're here.
Yeah, as you said, as conduits, we receive those gifts from the universe, and then we do what we can with them, and then we give hopefully something amazing to the world.
I think creation is what it's all about. So in a way, being an entrepreneur, creating something out of nothing, is you're close to. I think the intent is close of entrepreneurs. I think is close to I think what we are here for, which is to create together.
I agree. I think an important part of it is to fully understand what those gifts that we have are, whether we move on with them or we develop them. As you said, for example, like managing people, and then like really finding a way to use them as well as we possibly can to create something out.
Yeah, I think you need to embrace whatever happens and find a way to make it to make it a positive.
So when you think about your new business, MV Wine, do you think about it as something you will do for the rest of your life, or you don't think that way, or you actually plan to sell it the way you did Tablet Hotels? What's your strategic plan for the company?
One thing I've learned is that you can't think too many steps ahead. It's a total waste of time, and it makes you lose your focus. And I think you really need to focus on that next step. Of course, I can't help myself, and I've talked about where it could go, what it could do, and it's amazing and crazy and world domination and all this stuff. But no, I mean I'm doing it because it's something I want to, that I think I will enjoy doing, for as long as I keep it interesting, and it's really up to me to keep it interesting creatively, and obviously from a business creatively, also from a business point of view. So it's up to me I'm creating a vehicle that can make my life really, really enjoyable, because it enables me to express all the things the way I want to engage with life. So it gives me this vehicle for that. So as long as it works as that vehicle, I'll keep doing it. But it's up to me to really fix and change the vehicle to keep it doing what it's supposed to be doing. I think to me it's also I think who's not selfish, but it gives me a currency to so another way to frame this is it gives me a currency to connect with the kind of people I want to connect with.
Tell me about that.
Let's dig into that. I like that. Whom do you want to connect to?
People who are, more aware, more awake to life than others, to help me grow, so we can help each other grow.
What do you mean by that? That they're more awake?
They're able to put some distance between themselves and what's going on in their life, in a way that they it's like, in a way that's kind of a meditation gives you a version of that.
Yeah.
Right? Or
You're talking about detachment and the ability to detach.
I mean, to basically, you see that all this whole craziness that we let ourselves, that drive us, keeps us busy, is not reality. I mean, it's a version of reality, but it's your version of reality. But it's not the underlying reality.
How do you make that distinction between wanting to engage in life fully and being detached?
I mean, that's the difficulty. It's the balance. I mean, just to say another platitude. Life is a balancing act. So it's not like there is one way, or it's you have to there's duality in everything. One thing exists or is perceived because the absence of it exists too. I mean, so yes, there is this balance to find between those two things. I agree with you. These are can be contradictory, but I think they're both necessary and they're both part of. I think that I think we can easily get stuck in one and not see the other side of it. But the other side of it is not the answer. The answer is the other side of it is helps us make sense of where we can easily get trapped, and help us navigate it, because it's, if you believe in that things are there for a reason. Yes, there is this challenge of dealing with the day-to-day craziness of all kinds is a part of why we are here, probably.
The way I like to think about it is having some kind of filtering system which you can improve over time, and that filtering system helps you distinguish between things you want to engage with and things you want to filter out. So things you want to filter out, if we talk about emotions, this is where you want to try to detach from them. And things you really want to engage with, this is where you want to be present and fully present for. Like, for example, you mentioned children. You want to be fully present when you're with them, having quality time. But at the same time, you may want to detach from things you cannot control or are negative and are not interesting for you, say politics.
No, I agree.
Over time, we're getting better and better at what we filter out. We become more discerning. And it's a skill in a way. That's how I resolve that challenge for myself.
Is it similar to how you think about it?
No, I think the ability to filter, entails the fact that you are able to have some detachment in the first place. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to filter anything. But so I agree, it's important. But sometimes, but I think what's interesting is the things that you're not able to filter out. So there are some patterns, like so that this is like the bleeding edge, right? Some things that it's happening, and it's like but you can filter it out. So that's what exactly. And I'm not saying, So I know I see that as a I think that's where when this happens, it's like, okay, well, this is my next. This could be my next little growth project here, to just understand where this comes from and what I can do about it.
Yeah, but
Sometimes something comes to our life that is meant to be there, but we don't understand why, and it's
Yes.
stuck there. And maybe 10 years from now we'll understand why. So we have to have respect also for those situations.
I agree, and to me that so there is some it's great to feel that you can filter out some things, but that's that your path is how do you deal with these other things that you're not able to filter out. So it's like on to the next thing. It's not like you find
But you seem to have built or in the process of building a new vehicle for yourself to channel your creativity where you wanted to go, and by engaging in that, you'll be filtering out other things by definition because you have to. And that's the beauty of building your own product or business or vehicle. It forces you to be good at that, at filtering what you don't want.
You need to, so I'm talking, so it turns out that the winemakers we pick, when I talk to them, I'm like, I feel an almost instant connection with these people, and they're very different from me. They spend their time in the fields. And I don't have their understanding of or connection with nature. So I learn from them about that, and I listen to them. So it almost puts more pressure on me to do my part of this thing, which is to connect them with people who can appreciate what they're doing, and therefore, this way connect with them. Puts pressure on me to do my stuff at the same level of creativity
You're bringing their art to the world, which is essential for them to feel that they realize and that
their talents and
to make a living with the life they've chosen, regardless of making a living or not. I mean, they just chose that for purely, completely individual, selfish reasons, because that's the way they wanted to live. And then, so if I can help them make a living from that, that's a good thing.
Of course, you'll sustain
their art for the rest of us. So
yeah, because I believe their art, is useful to the rest of us.
Laurent, do you think that over time you became less selfish or more selfish?
So I mean, we're all selfish. So that's just so more or less, I think the classic supermarket psychology, is that you've got the ego, and then below that the essence. I think I've been more aware of those two aspects, and more connected to my essence.
Laurent, thank you so much. I absolutely loved the conversation. I always do. You always make me think much deeper about life.
Well,
I hope you had the same effect on my audience as well.